I was sitting alone at 11 p.m. the night before my son's IEP review. 47 browser tabs open, 3 years of meetings behind me, and I realized I had no idea the exact translation, implication, or intent of what was in the document. I'd signed 3 of these without knowing what I was agreeing to. So I did something I had never done before. I opened an AI tool and asked it to read it for me and help me understand. What it found in 20 minutes changed how I walk into every school meeting going forward. And this week, 200 plus comments later, I know I wasn't alone in that 11 p.m. moment. Before I show you anything, I want to say something to this community. This week I heard from a teacher managing 124 students with no support, writing accommodations she knows won't be followed. I heard from parents who have filed 2 state complaints and still show up every single day. I heard from educators who left the system entirely because it emptied them. And I heard from advocates who know the law and watch it get ignored. I hear all of you. Every single one of you is right about your piece of this. And every single one of you is losing to the same broken infrastructure. The parent isn't the problem. The teacher isn't the problem. The admin isn't the problem. The accountability loop is missing. There aren't enough resources. The ratios are not in our favor. And today, together, we start fixing it, one step at a time. 3 things before we start. First, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a special education attorney. What I'm showing you is how I use AI as a preparation tool to ask better questions, not to replace professional advice. AI makes mistakes. Use it as a starting point, not the end game. For complex disputes, please work with a qualified advocate or attorney. Second, privacy. Before I ran my son's IEP through any AI tool, I redacted every name, date, and identifying detail. I'll show you how in a moment. Always do this. Your child's private information should never go into a public AI tool unprotected. Third, AI has a complicated reputation. I understand the concerns. What I'm showing you today is AI as a tool, the same way you'd use a calculator. It reads a document and surfaces patterns. You decide what to do with that. This is AI for good, and that's the only kind I'm interested in. This week's comment section showed me something I want to share before we fix anything. Because the same broken moment looks completely different depending on which side of the table you're sitting on. And if we're going to build a solution, it has to work for everyone at that table. The parent signs a document in a language that they were never taught, in a framework they were never trained for. They want to do the right thing for their child, and they don't know what they don't know. The teacher, who someone in my comments described perfectly, is managing 124 students alone, required to track data with no system that makes it possible. She's not failing, she's drowning. The admin is managing district liability while trying to support staff who are already at capacity. The advocate or attorney watches parents sign documents that could have been negotiated and wonders why nobody told them. And the student is the one feeling the impact. Research confirms what your comments showed me. Educators face insufficient time and resources while parents feel excluded from a process they're officially equal partners in. Everyone is trying. The infrastructure makes it nearly impossible. That starts to change today. 20 years running enterprise systems transformation taught me one thing about broken infrastructure. You don't fix it by working harder inside it. You change the inputs so you get better outputs. Here's exactly what I changed. Free checklist with all prompts is in the description. No email required. Here's exactly what I did. 4 steps. Step 1. I opened my son's IEP in a Word document and replaced every piece of identifying information with a placeholder. His name became Student A, the school name became School B, his teacher name became something else, date of birth, student ID, case manager, all replaced. Takes about 10 minutes. This is your redacted version, but protects the privacy. Step 2. I saved it as a brand new file. I called mine IEP_redacted. Separate file, separate name, so there's zero chance I accidentally used the original. Step 3. I selected all the text in that redacted document, copied it, and pasted it directly into the AI tool. Think of it like handing the AI a document to read before you ask it questions. You're giving it the context it needs to do the analysis. No uploading, no special software, just copy and paste. And then I ran the prompts. For this demo, I'm using ChatGPT. It's free to use and handles long documents well. Claude works the same way. Now, let's see how it's done. Prompt 1, gap identification. Prompt 1 is a completeness check, not an accusation, a checklist. We're asking the AI to compare what's in the document against what idea typically requires, so everyone walks into the meeting knowing what's there and what might still need discussion. Prompt 2, language audit. Prompt 2 looks for language that's vague, not because anyone wrote it badly, but because IEP templates are often too general phrasing. Specific language actually makes a teacher's job easier too. When everyone knows exactly what extended time means in practice, there's less confusion on both sides. Prompt 3, services check. Prompt 3 is a conversation starter, not a verdict. It helps the parent come to the meeting with informed questions, and it helps teachers too, because sometimes services get missed in the documentation process, not because anyone decided against them. Prompt 4, questions for meetings. Prompt 4 turns everything the AI found into a question list, not a challenge list. The goal isn't to catch anyone in a gotcha moment. It's to walk in with shared language so the conversation is about the child, not about navigating around each other. Total time, about 20 minutes. And what that did is let me walk into that discussion without any accusations, but with a map of a document I'd never had before. And when I sat down at that table, I wasn't intimidated by the sheer number. I was informed. And that is a completely different place to start from, and a completely different mindset for collaboration. Here are the 3 specific categories of problems the AI flagged for me. First thing was that some of the goals didn't include a way to measure progress. A goal that says will improve social communication doesn't tell anyone, the teacher, the parent, or the student, what success actually looks like. Without a baseline, a target, and a timeline, there's no shared definition of progress. That's not a failure of intention. It's a gap in the document that everyone can address together. Second, the AI noticed that one of the goals referenced communication support, but the services section didn't explain a recent reduction in speech therapy time or connect it to the goals. This isn't about blame. It's about making sure the document tells a complete story so that anyone who reads it understands how the services connect to what the child is working towards. And third, several accommodations use phrases like as appropriate and when determined by the team. These kinds of phrases are extremely common in IEP templates, and they often get included with the best intentions. But they don't give teachers, parents, or students a clear, shared understanding of what to expect. More specific language actually makes implementation easier for everyone, because nobody has to interpret what it means. 4 steps that help everyone at the IEP table do their best work together. First, take time before signing. Every parent has a right to a 10-day review period before signing an IEP. Use it if needed. Not because you distrust the team, but because a document this important deserves careful reading. The best IEP teams expect this and welcome it. Second, come with written questions, not challenges, genuine questions that move the conversation forward. Something like, I noticed the goal mentions communication support, and I wanted to make sure I understood how the service minutes connect to it. Can we walk through that together? Written questions signal preparation. Prepared parents make the meeting more productive for everyone in the room. Third, ask about tracking. A simple question like, can you help me understand how each accommodation gets tracked over the quarter? Opens a conversation that benefits the teacher as much as the parent. When tracking is clear and consistent, teachers have documentation that protects them too. It's a question that serves the whole table. And fourth, if something isn't working after good faith effort on everyone's part, there is a formal process designed for exactly that. Document your concerns in writing. Start with the principal, then the superintendent, then the State Department of Education if needed. This process exists not to punish anyone, but because the child at the center of this document deserves a resolution. Steps 1 through 3 make step 4 rarely necessary, but knowing it exists makes the whole process work better. The goal of all 4 steps is the same: a meeting where everyone is prepared, the document is clear, and the focus stays on the child. The framework I showed you today works, and it shouldn't require a law degree, a corporate background, or an 11 p.m. research session to use it. But here's what I want: a world where every parent walks into an IEP meeting knowing what the document says and what the law requires. Where every teacher has a tracking system that takes minutes, not hours. Where every admin has visibility into compliance before it becomes a crisis. And where the parent I met in my comments this week, who monitors her son's assignments throughout the school day, files state complaints, and documents every violation because the system requires her to, doesn't have to do any of that anymore, because the system simply works. That's the North Star for this series. One pain point, one real hack, one long-term fix, every single episode. 2 asks before you go. If you'd want a live workshop where we talk through some of this together, comment workshop below. And tell me what is the one thing in this process that hurts you the most. Parents, teachers, admins, advocates, I want to hear from all of you. Your answers build episode 2. And remember, privacy is non-negotiable, so protect your information before using any tool. And this is not legal advice. I'm just a system thinker parent who is tired of admiring the problem and wants to actually start fixing some things. Free checklist with all prompts is in the description. No email required. Share this with anyone who has an IEP meeting coming up. I'll see you in the next one.